everybody, welcome to This Board Game Life, episode number 92, titled The Goat, aka the greatest of all time, not the animal. I would actually argue we should call it The Rob. How about that?
The Rob.
Yeah, greatest of all time. It's a synonym, not cinnamon. Not cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, you just heard the sultry voice of my amazing co-host, Mr. Mark.
Hello there. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Sport Game Life After Hours.
Yes. You could also see him if you're watching on, I don't know, the YouTubes and stuff like that. You really can't see me because I don't have my light on.
And I'm so pale.
Yeah, you screw up the white balance of the camera.
Oh, whatever.
Oh boy, that one will never get old. Anyway, I will, you will, but that won't. Anyway, this is a kind of a rickety intro. I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, we're still new at this. We're still getting used. We're still getting used to making shows, making podcasts. After what, like 900?
We've never done this before.
Yeah, but every one of them is the first time.
Yep.
It's like the first time. But anyway, this is the show about games, board games, anything we want to talk about. But primarily, you know what? I need to come up with some kind of like soap opera-esque intro. This is you, your life.
These are the games of our lives.
Yes, these are the games of our lives, this board game life.
Probably can't use that one, though, but...
Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably get...
copywritten.
Something, yeah, just by even saying that. But anywho, yeah, this is a show about games, board games, tabletop games, anything else we want to talk about. And we've got a pretty cool show lined up for today. But before we get on with that stuff, just kind of want to mention a couple two tree things. We have some great content on YouTube now, on the YouTubes. Mark is putting up some great content over there, unboxings, playthroughs, reviews, right? I think we're hitting all of those, checking all those boxes now. And make sure, actually, if you're watching this right now on YouTube, I need to mute my phone because it's making ding-in noises. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Did I do that right?
That works.
Hit the bell button.
Hold on. I missed my cue. Right there we go. Oh, let me hit it again. Oh, it's not working.
I don't see nothing.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Like, ding, subscribe, and hit that bell icon.
Bong. Yeah. Actually, they need to have different noises. Like,
are you muted, Rob?
No.
Did you mute yourself?
No, I think you muted me or something.
I don't hear you, Rob.
Twist your knobs and press your buttons that you just pressed.
I don't know what you're doing.
Oh boy, this is going to be one of those shows.
I seriously don't hear you.
Oh. See, like I said, every show is like the first.
Okay. I hear you. I don't know what happened. Somehow I got muted.
Oh. I think you were pressing buttons.
I was pressing one button.
At a time?
I don't know what I did.
Your VCR is flashing 12. Come on. I know you could have been pressing anything. I'm just glad you didn't press the power button.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways.
Like I said, it's our first show, so
yeah. And I was just trying to say we should have some like thumbs up noise, some subscribe noise, and then bing for the bell. Anyway, so yeah, make sure to uh like and subscribe on our content and on whatever platform you consume the podcast or the videos or anything like that. We would greatly appreciate it. And you'll get new stuff as it releases. So with that kind of out of the way, I bumbled through that a little bit. Let's see. We can talk about what we've been getting to the table. I just can't like talk today. It's been a long day. I did play two things. I want to play them some more, so I'm gonna push them out into next show where I'll talk about them more in depth. I finally got Bulletstar to the table, and I don't think we talked about it on the show because when we were playing this by one of your friends, she had the upgrade set for
yeah.
The bullet game. So you get these nice wooden chunky pieces, and in the base game, in the game itself, you just get cardboard.
Right.
And I tell you, like, once you get the nice components, the plain stuff is it's not quite the same. It's like, even though it's like, I like the game, it's fun, but it's not the deluxe components. And the thing is, this thing's sold out everywhere, so that's annoying. That's what really makes it annoying. So what I wanted to do was to play that same villain or boss or whatever that you played, because you talked about this last show.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see how I fared with her. Anyway, the other thing that I finally got to the table after many years was SOS Titanic. So I kind of went through one, I'll call it a learning game, and I'd really like to just go through and play it a couple of times. It's a fun little game. It's like a board game version of Klondike, aka Solitaire. So
okay.
it's got this board, which is actually a flip book, sort of the Titanic. As it's sinking, you flip the pages, and then you see the Titanic like sinking more and more and more. And your goal in the game is actually to get the passengers off of the boat and rescue them. But you have two kinds of passengers. You have passengers that are first class and passengers that are second class. So, they can't associate. That would just be terrible if you mix second class and first class passengers. That would just be awful. So you're basically playing solitaire while trying to keep these groups separate and get them off of the Titanic onto like their lifeboats and stuff. And then you play as a character, so you basically have like a power up and you get these actions and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So it's a game that is soloable, where it's one of those games that are cooperative.
Okay.
But you can play it by yourself, where you just basically do everything by yourself. So I kind of teased both of those, and I'll go into a little more detail on my thoughts of them. I just so far I'm really enjoying both of those, but yeah, that's about it for me. How about you? What did you get to the table?
I did get to play. Finally, got Viticulture, the Tuscany Essential Edition played. That was a really fun game. I also
really okay.
Yeah, I it's interesting, the Viticulture, like the original release, and then the Essential Edition. They're
Mm-hmm.
very different. Even the rules and like it's kind of weird as we were, because we did play with the Tuscany expansion, and it's so much better. It's like it. This is a game that I think needed that expansion. Really made a
Okay.
huge difference in the game. Now I never played the original, but without it, but like looking through the original game and then going with the Tuscany version, like the board is different and there's just a lot more to it, and I feel like it's a better, more fleshed out game. So it's interesting because it's like this game almost, and everyone will tell you that it seems like everyone I've run into, it's like, yeah, you've got to have the Tuscany expansion for this game. It just seems more fleshed out and a better game. So I enjoyed it. It was nice to get that to the table. And I picked up another new little game called Tether. It's just a card game where you are trying to make groups of astronauts tethered together, and you score. And it's a 2-player game where you sit across from each other. One person is playing vertically, the other person is playing horizontally, and you're laying cards out of numbers, and you have to line cards up numerically, in sequential order. So as you're playing stuff out one way, someone else is playing another way, and you have multiple groups, and then you're trying to like merge groups together when you can get the numbers to line up correctly. And it's really interesting little card game. I thought it was really neat how it plays, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Then I played Bullet Heart. So as you mentioned, you played Bullet Star, and I did find that when I did my original boss play, I played it incorrectly. And so
Was that the one that was super easy?
Yes. It was like the boss never even attacked. Well, I was like doing the reverse of the boss's pattern. Like I thought I had to not have those tiles in my pattern to avoid the attack, but it was like the opposite way, or it was like the complete opposite of what I guess the way I was playing it. So I played it the other way, and it was a lot harder. It was definitely I did play a different boss and a different character, but it definitely stepped up in difficulty and was tough. I died twice in a row pretty quickly. So, but it's still a good game. I do enjoy it, and I do like the solo mode a lot because you can just kind of play it at your own pace, as opposed to you got a 3-minute timer when you're playing, competitive against others.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
and a lot. What's a good way to put it? It's a lot of pressure, which increases the chances of screwing up or missing optimal plays, I guess.
Exactly. So, got Flamecraft. We played that with the group. Also got to play Cities. I really enjoy this. And even though it's a lighter game, this is another one my group really enjoyed it. Even though it's a lighter little city builder, it's actually really fun, and it plays quick. And I like that. There's very little downtime in this game. Also played some more Rebirth. Really, really enjoy this game. This is probably the one newest game that I've gotten a lot of play. I've got to play multiple times, which is nice. Yeah, it's a really good game. Unstoppable. So it's actually sitting right here. This game is a card game. It's from John DeClaire, and this I did an unboxing video, and I was talking about how I was really looking forward to playing this. Then I taught myself. I did a learning game. It took me about 2 hours, and I did really well. Like I almost beat the boss, but I didn't. And it got real hard. The longer the game went, the harder it got. So I'm like, all right, I can't wait to play again. So I played twice today and actually recorded them. They're short videos.
Okay.
I got slaughtered very quickly in both rounds, and I'm like, what am I doing different? Am I doing something wrong? Or maybe I did something wrong the first time. I know I made mistakes the first game, but the things I was catching was like, it shouldn't have altered the play quite as much. And I don't know, man. It's just it's random cards and how they come out and what you choose to
Yeah.
play and what you choose to upgrade and how the enemies come out. It's brutal, but it's really fun. I really do like this game, Unstoppable. It's a lot of fun, and I'm gonna play it some more. This is gonna be something I think I play quite often, to be honest with you.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it is a single player game. Can also be played cooperative with one other player, and it has a lot of ability to be like there's an upgrade or not an upgrade. I'm sorry, there's an expansion for it, which I have ordered, so it's on order, and it gives you 2 more characters, more upgrades, more threats. So it's just going to expand the game and give you more cards and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to getting that and adding that in. But the game is really really fantastic. There's a lot of options, and I really do enjoy it. So another one, I know that you've been very curious, and I haven't spoke to you about this yet,
Oh yeah.
but I played Civolution. This is Stefan Feld game. We played this last weekend, and oof, what a brain burner! This is a big game.
It's a lot to this. Yeah.
There's a lot to it, and at the first, probably about halfway through the game, I just was like, I felt kind of lost, confused. And then you get to a point where it's like, okay, I think I'm finally gaining this. I'm finally figuring it out. And I felt like I was making some good moves and I was doing. And then by the end of it, I'm just like, okay, I felt like I was completely lost again. Like I just, fell off the rails.
And then you won.
No, I think I came in dead last, but I'll have to double check. Maybe I didn't. But I certainly didn't win first, that's for sure. Where was this? Civolution. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was last place. So only scored 138 points. The winner had 201. So I wasn't too far behind the next person at 147, and there was a 160. So, but it was very interesting. Oh crap! Tried to get that. Sorry,
You missed.
I
Misfire.
I no, I had my finger on the button, and I was like trying to stop coughing. As soon as I clicked, I coughed, and it caused my finger to click the button again. That's how hard the cough was. All right. So Civolution, it's really interesting.
Hopefully you're not like allergic to games.
No.
That's why you can't kick that cold.
I'll take allergy medicine.
Yeah.
So, but Civolution, there's a lot of components, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But kind of like Castles of Burgundy, you're rolling dice and you're basically kind of doing one thing on your turn. So there's not a lot you have to do during your turn, but there are a lot of options. And
which is kind of like Castles of Burgundy too. There's like 10 options for what you can do. And first game, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
But then after that, it's like, it's fine. It's easy.
I wouldn't say the next game would be easy. I think this one will take several plays to probably kind of really get the flow and kind of know what you are wanting to do. Because there's the one thing I found was like, I was playing a lot of cards at first. And by the end of the game, I had no cards and I wasn't even playing cards. I was doing other things. And it's just like, and others kind of felt the same way. Like maybe the cards weren't such a driving part of the game. And it's one of those, I think, that there's so many things, there's so many options in the game that you can basically ignore some parts of it and still be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those, you're not going to be able to do everything, just kind of like Castle Burgundy. But I think there's even more going on in this game than even Castles does. So
yeah,
it's
because
but it's
the rule book alone is 44 pages.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not anything that I feel the need to own, but if someone in my group wants to play it again, I would play it again.
Right.
But yeah, it felt good to play something like that and to, step up and play a heavier game. What is this one? I want to look this one up. This one it better be up there. If it says it's like a 3, I'm
It's
going
a
to be
2.
It's a 4.19. So
Oh, really?
yes.
I didn't think it would be that high.
Yes. So it's a doozy.
Yeah.
And then you're moving around. You got your board, and then you've got pieces moving around in the world, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lot happening. But really nice production, really nice game. I did enjoy it, and there's just it's definitely going to take a couple of plays to kind of get the nuance of it.
Mm-hmm.
Next, after that we played some Ethnos Second Edition.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had never played that one before. That was interesting. I liked it. And then, what's today? So,
like this guy here.
yeah, that.
Oop.
But that looks like the first edition, though, right?
Yeah.
So we played the second. I don't know what the difference is, but it was a fun game. And then last night, I finally got to break out Thunder Road Vendetta Carnival of Chaos.
I want to hear what you think of this one.
Dude, I probably won't play the base game again.
Really?
Carnival of Chaos takes Thunder Road Vendetta and puts it into an arena. And it is just, it really, because the original game is a race with destruction, but this is, you're driving into an arena and you're just duking it out with super weapons and these party favors, which give you like, oh, you get to repair off every vehicle, or you get to shoot twice, or there was one guy that had a super weapon that allowed him to shoot in any direction. And it was just, someone else had like this laser thing that cut straight down with no range, like it just, as far as of the board they could hit in all three arcs in front of them. It was just crazy. There's pillars that move up and down, and you can, I went on a pillar that was down to get some scrap, which is the coins that like manages, that's the points, whoever's alive at the end of the game. So the game ends when, after 6 rounds, or when someone goes out and is completely defeated, then you finish the round, and then whoever has the most scrap wins the game. So I went over and got some scrap, and then Eva, her, she put a party favor out on her turn that popped the pillar up and ejected my car and destroyed my car, and that actually took me out of the game. So there's just all kinds of stuff in this game that it was just a blast, absolute fun. You still have your helicopters. You get an extra car. So there's another, like a 5th car, a purple one that comes in, and you can play. So you can have a 5th player there with the regular car, and you can use that in the base game too. But it just added and made this game focus like more solely on combat and just keeping everybody engaged, and a lot of slamming, and it's just so many different things that this game added in that just so much fun, over the top fun. It's a blast. And I'm not taking away from the base game.
Right.
Love the base game, but turning it into an arena battle was just amazing. So I love it. I love it.
See, I think of the original game kind of like a Mad Max. You know, like they're driving down the highway or the desert
Yep.
or whatever, and they're like duking it out. And then I picture like this one being the new one, the Carnival of Chaos, being more like Twisted Metal. You remember that game?
I'm
Just
familiar with it, but I never played
yeah,
it.
the ice cream
So
truck that blows you up.
yeah, wasn't there a Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome? Didn't they
That was
battle
with
it out in an arena?
Tina Turner or something. Yeah.
Yes, and there and there is a character in this expansion. There's like an AI character that you're flip at the end of when everyone the first the end of each round, you flip over these cards, and Turbo Tina is the one
Oh,
who's
okay.
running the arena, right? And
Hmm.
she will reward people with scrap who are might be in certain spotlight areas of the board, and then she will raise and lower pillars. So if you're
Hmm.
sitting on one, you could get destroyed
Sure.
when her turn goes. And then she changes the rule set for the next round and introduces a new rule that will happen for the entire next round of the game.
Hmm.
So it's really well done. So much fun
I know Turbo Tina reminds me of Tiny Tina.
from Borderlands,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well,
But
obvious reason why. The
because her
name.
name's Tina.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
But
that's cool. No, I'm
that's what
interested
I
in
played
checking that
this
one
week.
out. Okay.
It is so much fun, dude. So much fun.
All right. So here we'll jump over to the news, but before that, real quick, let's just kind of cover some of the ways you can reach out to us. We have a guild on Board Game Geek. We also have the YouTube channel where you feel free to comment on this show, possibly if that's where you're watching it, or on any of the videos. We love hearing the comments or love seeing the comments. And you can also reach out to us on our website, thisboardgamelife.com, where we have a cool section to leave a voicemail. You can leave us a message that we might play on the show. And I think I covered that's most of them. And you
Sure.
can also send us an email, contact@thisboardgamelife.com. But let's roll through the news real quick, and then we'll get on to the highlights, the number one
The
thing of the
greatest
show,
of all
the top 20.
time.
Yeah, our top 20s of all time.
All right.
So you want to
I'm gonna
hit
kick
yours
us
real
off here.
quick? Yeah.
I'm gonna kick this off. I'm gonna kickstart
Light this
article.
candle.
So the crowdfunding board game heavyweight CMON has warned. Okay, I got to ask you, Rob, is it CMON or come on? I've heard it pronounced both ways. I've always said
So
CMON.
I know that there was a change, but it used to be Cool Mini or Not when they first started. And then I know them as CMON, but then again, I also know the Sears Tower, amongst other things, which are technically old names. But
Yeah.
I would just do CMON.
Okay.
Or
So
you could just go
that's what I've done.
CMON.
I've called it CMON. So, anyways,
Yeah.
crowdfunding
Yeah.
board game heavyweight CMON has warned it could face losses of more than $2 million for its business activity last year, saying that the rising cost of living had eaten into its revenues from tabletop game sales.
Mm.
I, I kind of was wondering about this. We have seen them do so many crowdfunding of, was that Marvel United, and it's just one after the other, after the other, and after the other. They're blaming rising cost of living, but could it just be that people are getting overfilled with the Marvel United? That's like, give me
Maybe.
something different for a change.
Yeah, they can only milk a product for so long before you kind of saturate it and then need to move on, I guess.
Yeah, and the licensing costs that they're paying
Yeah.
is huge. So I don't know. I feel like they're just blaming misplaced blame, but I don't know. I'm not a marketing, just I'm a guy in the cheap seats, but they did issue the board issued a profit warning to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange recently, estimating its losses in 2024 to be between 1.4 and 2.1 million, with the final audited total expected to be revealed in the company's annual report by the end of the month. So I was just surprised. Like, CMON's a big name, and here they're reporting some major losses.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a good thing when it's at the top, kind of a big player in the market.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Losing that kind of money. But I don't think it's going to be gloom and doom for them. They just probably need to come out with some things that don't cost so much to license. But
yeah, and when you have something like that, there's like a steep cost to entry if you didn't catch it right in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say I was into it for, ever since it came out. If you wanted to start playing, like, how much do you need to get? Do you know what I mean? To keep up with people that are in it for years, per se.
Oh, but this could be there's more to this, actually.
Okay.
Let's see. So at the midpoint of 2024, losses would, at the midpoint of that range of the loss would almost completely wipe out CMON's 1.8 million profits across the previous 3 years combined, bringing to an end several years of improving performance as the company recovered from losses of almost 5 million in 2020 due to COVID.
Wow.
So CMON has previously scored profits of 3.5 million in 2017, 2 million in 2018, 1.88 in 2019. So the profit warning continues a tricky start to the year for CMON, which began in 2025 with an agreement to sell its intellectual property in a $12 million deal, and with 2 new shareholders due to invest about 1.39 million into the business by picking up a combined almost 17% stake in the company.
Wow.
They entered a non-binding agreement to sell the unspecified IPs last August, but terminated the arrangement last month after CMON and the unnamed buyer failed to agree to terms. It also revealed just over a week ago that the new shareholders had failed to hand over the money for their stakes and said it was seeking legal advice on how to cancel the process. CMON added at the time that it was now seeking other funding means to increase its general working capital in order to enlarge its capital base, increasing the overall liquidity of its shares and strengthen the company's financial position. CMON currently has 10 yet to deliver crowdfunding projects, which raised more than 22 million in various stages of production, with the 3.8 million A Zombicide White Death, the next game due to reach backers in Q2 of this year.
Wow.
Wait, how old is this article? 13th of March 2025. That's just recent. But White Death is already on the shelf, because I've seen it on the shelf. The next game due to reach backers in Q2 this year. It also has 7. I know it came out just recently, but it was out before this article, so it's already in retail. But they also have 7 more titles for pre-order, 5 of which are currently slated for a Q2 delivery. Yeah, it's we could see a lot of change here. So I'm hoping that backers don't lose out here. And it almost seems crazy that, if they've raised $22 million with projects that are still in production, I hope that money is going to allow those to complete and get to backers.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't expect this. I've talked about this before, like with CMON, it's like, I've always felt they shouldn't be in it. Like, I feel like they're too big to use kickstarting or crowdfunding. But
not everything goes through that process. Like, I don't think Ethnos was Kickstarted. I think that just went straight into retail. But
Yeah.
a lot of their stuff that has some kind of IP or whatever, like Zombicide, it always does. Anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, let's see. Hopefully their cash reserves are diminishing. Let's see. CMON shook up its crowdfunding strategy significantly in February last year when it ended 12 years of running campaigns on Kickstarter, which had raised more than 108 million in total, in favor of signing an exclusivity deal with crowdfunding rival GameFound. In the first year, that new platform saw it raise more than 12 million despite a relatively slow start, with large campaigns like DC Superheroes United, Cthulhu Death May Die Forbidden Reaches. So far this year, they completed 2.85 million crowdfunded for Massive Darkness Dungeons of Shadowreach, which got more than 9,800 backers on that project. Wow. They also had some significant acquisitions last year. Hopefully they can pull this out and, keep things going. And here. Remember I think we talked about on the last episode about how CMON had hired the YouTube channel Man vs. Meeple
Oh yeah.
as its new global director of marketing, as part of a push to continue expanding its player base beyond its traditional core market.
Is that Jeremy that they hired, or
the
other guy?
I can't remember their names.
Yeah.
And I don't see them listed here.
Okay.
But yeah, that's interesting. We'll see what happens. I do hope that, I hope all the backers get their products. I hope CMON can come out of this and be, get back to being profitable and stuff, because they obviously make things that people want. They do very well on their Kickstarters campaigns. They make a lot of money there. So good luck, guys.
Heck yeah.
Let's see. Then I think the next one, and then kind of on the opposite side, my next one is, I didn't realize this, but Stonemaier, they made a kind of a gamble with Wormspan. So the Wingspan publisher, Stonemaier Games, revenue soared more than 40% to 23.7 million last year after a gamble on a hefty initial print run for new release Wormspan led to the game having the best the best first year for sales in the company's 13-year history.
Wow.
They sold more than 303,000 copies of Wormspan last year, and that's its first year. A figure that, despite already high hopes, went far beyond my wildest dreams, said Jamie Stegmaier, co-founder of the company. He said in a single year, it outsold Viticulture's lifetime units, and Viticulture is one of our best-selling evergreen products. We made a pretty big gamble in the initial print run of 100,000 units, and then we gathered orders from distributors in Barnes & Noble, where it has sold very well, and reprinted it a few times throughout the year.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. Profit was up a hefty 60% year on year, and with myriad of small improvements across the business being boosted by the company's localization partner, revenue increased by more than $1 million in 2024. Oh, and this is interesting too, because I've talked about, kind of interesting how both these stories came up. So it says about half of their revenue last year came from sales to distribution, 22% from its own web store, which I've mentioned that I like that they don't use the crowdfunding. They'll announce it and say, hey, it's going to be available for pre-order on this date, and then they usually ship to the pre-orders out like a month later, and then like another month after that they ship to retail. So I really like that model. Kind of wish more companies, like I wish something like CMON would do something like that. Um, I kind of feel I'd rather see a pre-order system and leave the kickstarting and crowdfunding more to what it was intended for, smaller companies to make games. Like one I had done a review on recently, which was what was that, Flight Plan. That was definitely a small company, and that I would rather see things like that in the crowdfunding, and these bigger companies do more of the pre-order. But so far, Stonemaier had a really good year, and they had a great release with that. So I'm wondering if FinSpan will do the same for them.
I'm sure that's going to be one of their big titles moving forward for sure.
Yeah. So congrats to the Stonemaier crew.
Mhm.
All right. That's what I got. How about you?
I got a couple two treat things that I'll cover real quick. So first up, Gale Force 9 has a new title coming out, and it's called The Adventures of Conan. It's actually hitting retail in about a month from now. So April 12th is street date for that. And this is one of several projects that they have, one of actually three projects that they have coming out here. Let's see, there's Conan, there's a Star Trek, and a Dune one, I think. Um, yeah. So those are the three: Conan, Star Trek, and Dune. Looks like. Anyway, uh, this is coming out, and it's a dice game where players will be tasked with exploring and battling enemies in the Hyborian Age. So you'll use your pools of custom dice to control the actions of Conan, his allies, and his foes. So it's interesting to see that Gale Force 9 is coming out with a dice game. So I'll be interested in checking this one out. And it's going to play in 2 hours, 1 to 4 players, and it'll retail for $60. Then next up, I thought this was kind of interesting. So one of the hot games over the past year or two has been Helldivers 2, out on PC and PlayStation, not Xbox, unfortunately. And Steamforged Games announced that they're coming out with a Helldivers 2 board game, which is interesting. So it's another game that's going to get the board game treatment. We'll see how good it is. So, in terms of gameplay, I would say Helldivers shares some distant similarities to Deep Rock Galactic in some ways, where it's a squad based. Yeah, you perked up for there. Yeah, it's where you have different characters and they can kind of work together and stuff. So with this, players man squads with pistols, machine guns, flamethrowers. It's kind of like Deep Rock in some ways. And they're tasked with completing high risk missions, navigating battlefields, and overcoming enemy swarms. Can you think of another game that had swarms? Just saying.
No.
No.
Rock and Stone.
First, wait, how'd that one go? For Stone and Rock. Oh, wait. You said it backwards. Anyway, this is going to be crowdfunded starting April 8th on GameFound. So that'll be interesting to see how well this one does and how it turns out. And then let's see, what was the other thing I wanted to mention? So Great Western Trail was a hit game now for quite a few years, and they're coming out with Great Western Trail El Paso. This is going to be hitting retail on April 25th. I don't know if it was Lookout.
Look out
Looking
what?
at my original version of Great Western Trail, I didn't think Lookout did that one. That one is, I think it's Eggert. It's the one with the fox. It's a little dark in this room. I can't see what it is, but yeah, it's just interesting to me that it's Lookout. I guess they have the IP right now, but oh yeah, so Great Western Trail El Paso continues Plan B's and Eggertspiel's series of games. So there's my answer. It was Eggertspiel on there. So this is going to be set in Texas, and people take the roles of ranchers. Big surprise there, because it's all about herding cattle and stuff like that. So you'll be a rancher tasked with driving cattle. And I thought this one was going to be a standalone. So
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think.
an expansion. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it's a new board game, not an expansion. So 1 to 4 players, plays up to 60 minutes, and it's got a retail of $35,
That
which
seems like a
is
good retail price.
yeah.
But
So
it does
it's
say it's a brand new compact board game.
compact. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
So I think it's going to be probably a smaller box game.
Yeah, it's not one of those big Ticket to Ride square boxes. It's more like what I call the Aaliyah size boxes, kind of like Azul is not good, but the
Yeah.
ones that are more rectangular,
Yeah.
it's
Standing
yeah,
taller.
up
Yeah.
and down, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, El Paso's coming out. Look forward to that one. And then I just thought I'd mention this because it's going to be releasing here in April, and that's Capstone Games is releasing Raising Chicago, because they had Raising Seattle was, I believe, the first one in
What?
the
I better get
series.
that. You need to get
Yeah,
this. I need to get the other one.
I know, right? Yeah, so Raising Chicago is coming out, and it's a city building game by Spielworks. So I do like me some Spielworks games, and this one over here, players are thrust into solving Chicago's citywide drainage issues. What an exciting topic, huh? In the mid 1800s. So you're tasked with taking charge of businesses that look to secure contracts for raising buildings. Basically become the most renowned builder in the city. So 2 to 4 players, 12 and up, plays up to 2 hours. So it's 120 minutes, and it's $65 retail. So that is all that I had. Just a couple things that I thought were interesting. Interesting to me, if
Yeah.
nothing else. That's all that matters.
Hmm.
All right. We got that out of the way. Now on to the main event.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
So this topic you can think came from a YouTuber comment from Sherlock SS2IO. Made a comment about how they would like Rob and I to go through and list our top 20, and they thought it was interesting. They wanted to see how the noob me, who's only been playing for about 2 years, compared to Rob, who's been doing it basically his whole life. But
Yeah.
how so the veteran and the noob, they wanted to see what our list would be like, and I can tell you that we've made our lists, and I've looked through them, and they are very different. And I think this does show the difference between someone who's been around has been able to experience all these amazing games in the past, where my list is made up of mostly more current things because that's what I'm being introduced to. So hopefully you guys will all enjoy this kind of road that we're going to take here, and yeah, let us know. Like I said, you can always send us a voicemail or emails, and
Leave a comment.
yeah, leave comments and let us know what some of your favorite games are. But all right, Rob, do you want to start with your number 20?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my number 20 is a game from
Gosh, I'm out of here.
CC, Carl Chudik. It's Innovation. I have like a million versions of this game. Actually, there's one right there. It's upside down. That's Innovation Deluxe, and I have Innovation Ultimate coming sometime soon. I think they're finally shipping it soon, but it's a fun game using multi-use cards. This is poor Mark. I have tortured him with Matainai and also with Uchronia. At this point, I'm not going to stop. I got to get you to play Innovation and Glory to Rome.
I'm good. I'm good. I feel like the multi-use cards is just not my bag, baby.
No, so Innovation is different. You splay cards. So you don't have that board in the middle. You just splay them in different directions. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, you're not impressed. Anyway, but it's a fantastic game. Innovation is awesome. Dearly beloved by so many people. And it's been out in like so many versions now. It just boggles my mind. There was like the original, then it was like a redone one, deluxe, now ultimate. I wonder what's next. What can be
the Super Mega Deluxe redo?
Yes, for 2026. So we shall see. But yeah, my number 20 is Innovation. How about yours?
My number 20 is from designed by Richard Garfield, published by Alea, and this is Dungeons, Dice, and Danger. This is a really fun roll and write, if you will, and you're going through dungeons. You're trying to avoid the dangers of the dungeons, and what I really love is like these pads. Like you get these sheets of paper, but there's a couple different pads of paper, and then there's a different dungeon on each side. So like there's I think four or six different dungeons in the game to go through, and they all play the same, but they have different different things that you encounter, and there it's a little bit altered play in each dungeon. Like there'll be different things that will respond or act differently, and I like it because it's one of those games like the active player rolls the dice and they roll. I think it's 4 white dice and 2 black dice, and you have to use the dice in pairs. So you have to pick any 2 dice to use, and the active player can pick with the black dice as well. They can include the black dice to pick that and use that in their roll, or the others can, but they only you can always use it when you're active, but if you're not the active player, then you're stuck with the white dice unless you unlock an ability that, well, I think you can do it 3 times, but then you also have these treasures which that allow you to do it 3 more times on your turn or out of turn. There's things like that will let you mark a random box, and there's other things that will like give you more health, but you're losing health. So if you can't you can't clear 2 boxes on your roll, you like lose a health. And as the more you go, it gets hard, because sometimes you'd be like, I can't use any of the dice, and then you're marking off, you're taking damage, and it's cool. You have to work your way through the dungeon. Now you can go different ways. There's a couple spots you can start on the map that are like green squares, but you have to be connecting. You can't just like, oh, we rolled a pair of sixes, I can take this one over here. It all has to be connecting. You have to kind of work your way through the dungeon. So connecting room to room, you can't skip a room. And it's a lot of fun and makes for some challenges as the further the game gets on. So a lot of fun. That's Dungeons, Dice, and Danger, my number 20.
I totally forgot about that one. It was one that I was going to check out because I remember you were talking about it a while back. My number 19 is a game called San Juan. It's a card game. I'll call it set in the Puerto Rico universe. And there was recently a Kickstarter or GameFound or whatever, crowdfunding. Let's call it that, because that's not name brand. There's a crowdfunding project from Awaken Realms for Puerto Rico, and then San Juan was kind of like an add-on,
yep,
or an extra for it. So San Juan is this awesome little card game where players assume like different roles, I guess is a good way to describe it. Like each turn, which gives you like these abilities, and then you're just playing this like really fun card game that is very unique in its own way, and it's unlike something that most people have played. And I'm looking forward to the new version that's coming out, because the original one that I have from way back when, I kind of struggle with some of the colors on it, because there's like, I don't know what color, there's like lavender or indigo, or I think it's called indigo. I really struggle telling the difference between them. So I'm really hoping that the new one that comes with Puerto Rico is going to address that to make it just a little bit more playable. But yeah, fun little card game. Small box, doesn't take up a lot of space, but it does provide a lot of fun. And it's been really highly regarded for many years, but kind of fell by the wayside lately because, I mean, it's an older game. So yeah, my number 19, I was going to say my number XIX, because we're looking at Roman numerals. My number 19 is San Juan. How about you?
All right, Rob, you're going to be happy with this one. I don't know if you looked at my list, but if you haven't, I'm going to give you the designer and you tell me what game it is. Klaus Jürgen Rierdy. I don't know if I said it right. No.
That is one of his games.
You introduced me to this.
No, I know which one this is. I'm teasing.
Oh, okay.
Downfall of Pompeii.
Yes. You introduced this to me at our TBL Con 2024.
Just like I introduced my foot to the game.
Yes. And yeah, I have it proudly displayed over here. I have played this several times. I almost took it to game night the other day, and it's going to go with me soon because I'm itching to play it again. But this is,
and I bet, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but I bet most people probably don't know it, and they'll just be pleasantly surprised by it. Like, it's just fun.
Well, the experience I had the first time I played with some of the people in my group was, it's a mean game. And I'm like, but it's fun. I mean, it's
well, like, maybe that says something about your personality.
No,
I'm apparently just desensitized all these years.
I don't know,
Mr. Meanie.
I just think it's a lot of fun, but
no, it is.
So the what I like about Pompeii is it's basically, you've got like, what is it? I wanted to say 3 different terms, but I think it's 2. So you first start out by you're putting people into the city. So you're using these cards, and yeah, there is like 3 phases, because you first start out.
It's a card game.
You're putting these little pieces into the city, and on certain areas based on the cards you draw. And there's a wall around the city, and there's exits at certain points. So you're putting your people in. You have no one there. You got to get your people into the city. And then you flip over like a Vesuvius card. And then at that point, it allows you to do some additional things. I don't recall exactly what those were. But
was it with the cousins and stuff?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the family members or the cousins or something. So then you can start adding like additional people into the city, and following certain rules. Then when you get like to the next card, the Mount Vesuvius erupts, and now the cards go away, and now you are just playing, and the game switches where you're trying to evacuate as many of your people out of the cities as you can, and now it's based on how you're going to win by whoever gets the most people out wins. But what you're doing on your turn,
and they call that phase "Run for Your Lives."
yeah.
And we laugh about it, I guess.
Yeah. So there is, at the start of your turn, you draft out of a bag a tile, which is lava, and based on the symbol, it's going to go in a certain spot in the city. And then you get to place this lava tile in the city by bumping it up to a one of its same kind, and you're starting to block off paths. It's like the lava's flowing through the city, and you're trying to basically block people out while you're trying to get yourself out, and you're limited on moves based on how many people you have on the spot that you're starting from.
Kind of like Finca, sort of, a little bit, right?
Yeah,
where you can, like, if you're on a spot with 3 people, then you can move 3.
Yeah. And there's a little plastic volcano that you make. It sits on the board. And if you're able to put like a lava tile on someone other person's tokens, you pick their token up and you drop them into the volcano.
So satisfying.
It's very satisfying. So it's a really fantastic game. It plays quick.
It does.
Like, this game really takes like 30 minutes, I think.
It almost takes as long to set up the deck of cards as it is to play the game.
Agreed. But The Downfall of Pompeii is my number 19.
And there's no downfall to that game. It's all fun.
No, there's not.
Yeah. Or apparently Mark and I both like mean games, which shows why we've been friends for so long.
There you go.
Although I still think you're a jerk when you chuck my dudes in the volcano. But that's okay.
That's probably just because I'm going.
Yeah.
My Renfield laugh.
True that, my friend. All right, so that was your number 19, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So my number 18, or XVIII, and I did not stutter there, but is the Speicherstadt.
Who?
Yes. Die Speicherstadt, or Speicherstadt. I think it's Speicher. Anyway, so this is a game by Stefan Feld. One of his early releases. Man, I was just looking this up. From what year was this? I want to say like 2010. So this game's 15 years old now. And so this is a game where it's set in like the early 1900s in Hamburg, where basically it's an auction game using worker placement in these buildings. So you are basically trying to collect goods and fulfill contracts. I mean, that's all I'll basically say about this game. It's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this game, and I think also that this is being redone in the City Collection that he's got, but it might have a new name. Might be one of those that he's kind of redoing for everybody. Anyway, so that is my number 18. The Speicherstadt.
I just realized something very bad.
What's that?
Something is missing on my list. I just was like, hey, where is this at? Wow, I need to readjust.
Something's going to get punted.
Something's getting punted, and I think it's going to have to be the one I'm going to name next. So I'm punting that, and I'm going to have to shift. I got to figure this thing needs to go to the top. So my next one is I just had to punt a game just like that
Yeah,
because I just
that's how it
realized
goes.
something very important was missing. But so I got number, what is this, 18
18.
is going to be Dorf Romantic, the board
Oh,
game.
nice.
So this I saw it last year at the first year at Gen Con.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, my first year,
That
so 2
was like
years.
that was like one of the fancy releases.
Well, it was the first one because
Yeah, it
there's now
was.
3.
No, I was saying land. I'm sorry. Uh, Dorf Romantic was one of the big releases of that year.
Oh, big, yeah.
Like one of the really popular games, almost as popular as Lorcana. I think. I think that was like the Insanity game.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. This was released the same time as that. So
Mhm.
but this was a fantastic little game. I remember when I first started, I will say, me trying to read these directions, I struggle with this game. This is one I struggle with, like reading and understanding what they're trying to say. But it is a fantastic cooperative game that, or you can even play this solo. I've played the Dorf Romantic Sakura version, which is the newest one. Where it's the same game, but it takes place in Japan, and there's some different things and options in it, and it's a beautiful tile laying game. But you can play this by yourself. You can play it up to 6 players. You are trying to score as many points as you can by completing tasks and building out this your tiles, like you're building rivers and train tracks and little city and forests, and trying to group things into certain numbers. It's just like a certain number of tiles, and it's just a real fantastic game. And what's really cool about this is it's like a kind of like a campaign, but it's not a campaign. Well, it's not like a legacy game where this is one that you get this sheet and you can track your points. And as you keep playing game after game after game, you get more and more stuff unlocked, which allows you to try for more things to get more points. And it just like keeps adding more stuff into the game, which I think is just really cool. And so this is a fantastic game. I really enjoy it. It's Dorf Romantic. This is my number 18.
My number 17 is Freeze's Landlord. This is a game from 2013 that is a very small box, maybe like, I don't know, 5 inches square. Uh, Small box game, which is a redo of one of Friedemann Friese's first games from the early 90s called Landlord. So this is kind of like new and improved for, I guess, the 2000s. Like 10, 20 years later, he redid the game. So it's a cool card game that uses the slightly odd shaped cards that he uses in most of his games. You know what I'm talking about? It's like his cards are a little longer than most than what we'll call traditional playing cards or poker
I
cards.
I
Yeah,
think the only
they're
thing
just
I've
longer. They're
Oh,
like
I
that
the
as
ones
opposed
no,
to
I've only
that.
played Power Grid, I think, of his, and those are square.
Yeah,
They're like squared. So
actual square. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, these are just longer rectangular ones. But yeah, the premise of this game is, use your hand of cards and you build buildings where you have, different cards like for roofs and different tenants, and there's rules on how you can, like who you can put next to who and stuff. So it's just a fun little game. I've always enjoyed every time I played it. That is my number 17. Freeze's Landlord.
Okay. My number 17 is Starship Captains from Czech Games Edition, designed by Peter B. Hufgaard. This is a parody of Star Trek, absolutely in every way. It is a really fun game that allows you to it's a fun, simplified, beautiful game that is essentially Star Trek, but it's parodied, so they can get away with it. And you are able to move your ships around to different planets, and you have your different types of, like, your red shirts, your blue shirts, your gold shirts. Then you have your cadets, which I think are just gray, and they can do different things. So like you need your red shirts, I think, are combat. Your yellow is like movement. Your blue is like science, and there's different things that, so you got to use these guys to do those types of things. Like so you got to move your ship to a planet and then go down and do missions, and you have to have certain people in your away team to do it and to score points and to gain. Maybe you're going to gain uh, cargo, and there's pirates that are out in flying in space, so you might end up in combat with a pirate starship on your way to another planet, and if you defeat them, you can gain more artifacts and cargo and things like that. So it's really neat. Like the board, it looks like the Starship Enterprise, and you slide your people around. The way you use them and move them is kind of really cool. You have a way to show the damage that your ship has taken and where you're putting your artifacts, and you're trying. It's just a really fun little game that I really enjoy, and I think is just it's fun for, especially if you're a Star Trek fan. It's just lighthearted, and that Starship Captain's my number 17.
Okay, very nice. My number 16 is Kingdom of Solomon. This is from Philip Duberry and Minion Games, which unfortunately is no longer around. Or Minion Games isn't around anymore. Philip is still designing. But this is a game that was my first introduction to Philip Duberry games, and I've been a lifelong fan ever since. So I've really loved a lot of his stuff. But this was kind of a surprising game for me, and the fact that it's not a topic that I would have gravitated towards, but it's basically a worker placement game where you kind of do four different things, right? Four different like phases. There's like a worker placement phase where you place your dudes on a map, right? Where you place your workers down, and that lets you like collect resources and stuff. And then after that, you basically go through and collect the resources and ultimately wind up building buildings. There's like this big building that you can add on to build roads and do various things. It's just a fun game that I really enjoy. It's a game that a lot of folks haven't heard about, just because it's so old, and it was one of Minion Games' um, first releases. It was like I believe it was a Kickstarter as well. So um, I really enjoy this game. Highly recommend it. I imagine it's like near impossible to find nowadays. And that's Kingdom of Solomon, my number 16.
All right. My 16 is from Minion Games, designed by Tom Jolly and Luke Laurie. This is the Manhattan Project Energy Empire. I really do enjoy this game. In fact, if it is being crowdfunded right now, they're doing a reprint with the new company. I think someone bought the rights.
Or is it Karma Games or Grail Games?
Grail Games, I think that's it.
Yeah.
That sounds right. So I will say this much. I don't care for the new art direction of the game. If you played, I think, last year's War Machine, it looks just like that. It's in that, if you like that art style, then the new reprint of this is going to look like that. But I have the 2016 version, which I like a lot better.
I got it here somewhere. I was just looking for it.
It's a very white and yellow box.
It's not easily accessible.
But you are basically getting you're trying to acquire resources to build up your industry, your commerce, and your government. You're trying to build some structures and tapping into sources of energy. And these things will have a negative impact by polluting the air, the land, or the water. You might have to drill out in the ocean for energy, or you might have to drill on land, or so there's all these different types of, and as you're building things, you're polluting, and you got to also take actions to clean the air and clean the pollution, because at the end of the game you're gonna, and this is a worker placement, it's a card drafting, it's um I don't know what else, but it's an economic game. uh there you get these buildings that you can buy to put in your, you get like it's a tableau of things that you're gonna get that allow you to do more actions. So you might build a certain plant that then you can take a worker and go there instead of to the main board, or you can go to the main board, but then you can also maybe have another action that allows you to play another worker or an energy onto one of these additional buildings. So there's a lot of, trying to find a nice uh, get an engine going if you can, to try to clean things up, and trying to block players or make it more costly for them to go do something they want to do. If you go there first, they got to put a worker and extra energy to go there. So basically cost them more if they go somewhere you're already at. There's a lot of things in this game that, just makes this a lot of fun. And that is the Manhattan Project Energy Empire as my number 16.
All right, my number 15 is a game called Roma, like the tomato, I guess. But this is a game from Stefan Feld. I think I've mentioned him before in
Never
my
heard
list.
of him.
Yeah. But it's
And I think we'll hear him again too.
Yeah, I know we will. But Roma is a smaller box game from Queen Games that came out, I don't know, like almost 20 years ago. When was this released? It was released in 2005. Yeah, 20 years ago. And it was a Spiel des Jahres recommended game for 2006. It did not, it won some stuff, nominated for a whole bunch of stuff, but it did not win. But this is a game that's very similar to a bunch of other games, kind of like Revolver is one of them. That the one that we played by you last month, Hanamakoji,
Yeah.
shares a little similarity with it. There's also a game called Battle Line, from GMT Games, and then Totten is another one. Those are both Reiner games. But basically, what it is it's a 2-player game, and you're playing against your opponent on opposing sides, and you have these little circles with like dice drawn on them, and you have these cards, and you're basically trying to dominate the other side, I guess is a good way to put it. This is a very fun game. It actually takes a little bit of time. It's not really a quick game for some reason. Maybe it's just me. It does have a low weight. I'm just looking at it here on BGG. It's got a weight of 2.01 of all things. Ages 8 and up as well. And it takes me a long time to play. It says 45 minutes. So I guess I have some problems. Maybe just because I teach all the time. But anyway, it's just such a fun game. It can be a little, I don't want to say mean, but it's kind of very much like a take that kind of game where you're doing things and you're getting rid of the other person's stuff and you're kind of attacking them and stuff. So with that being said, I bet you'd like it because
Yeah.
it's mean. But But it actually is a fun game. It's a fun 2-player game, and I do enjoy all the other ones. I enjoy Revolver. Actually, the only thing I don't enjoy about Revolver is its metal box. It's in one of those tins.
Ugh,
Yeah.
annoying.
And the other ones, Battle Line is great. This is kind of like a better version of Battle Line. And then there's Schotten Totten, of course, which I think Yellow redid. I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago as well, in a nicer version than Battle Line. But yeah, Roma, love that game. And that is my number 15.
My number 15 is from one of your favorite publishers, Queen Games.
Yes.
It's from designer Dirk Henn.
Ooh.
And
Maybe
it's
this
a
is
game,
on my list. Are you reading my list?
It's a game that you introduced me to.
Oh, there you go.
At the TBL Con 2024, and that's Alhambra.
Oh, nice.
So this,
oh wait,
in this,
right there.
Yeah, it's right behind me.
I think that's the red one.
Yeah, that's right.
No, that's the revised.
So
the Red Palace is right.
Oh,
The Red Palace.
So this is a game where you got to compete to build the most valuable, picturesque walled city in the 13th century Granada. Now, this is one of those games that if I would have read that on the box, I'd have been like, I'm not, this is stupid. This is terrible.
Yeah.
This game is fantastic. So never trust, don't ever go by what a board game box says.
Don't judge.
Don't judge. So you get your little starting tile, which I believe is your Alhambra. So, and you are basically picking tiles from a market. You have to have the proper colored cards and the amount of cards to purchase it in your hand. So you're either on your turn, you're either buying a card from the market or tiles from the market, or you are taking cards from the deck. And eventually you're going to buy tiles, put them in your city, and you want to try to get a wall on the outside as long as you can, a contiguous wall. And then you also have to try to match, keep a open path to that very center tile, your starting tile. So every tile you place has to have an open path, and you're connecting them. So it has to be adjacent to another tile, and you can't put you have to put walled pieces together, open pieces together, stuff like that. It's very simple play. It's really a fun game to play, and you never really know. You can see, you get an idea of when scoring is going to happen, or what the scoring is going to be. So the certain types of buildings will score more points, and you can see what everyone has. So it's like, okay, I got to try to get this purple because the purples score the most. And, my buddy here is going to get another one, which gives them more points than me. But then maybe the scoring round comes up before you get a chance to purchase it. And so you never know when you're going to score. It's always random based on when the scoring cards come out of being randomly in the deck. So it's really neat. It gives a little bit of, as that deck gets lower and lower, you're just like, oh, you're starting to stress. I know that's going to come up. But yeah, this is Alhambra, a fantastic game at my number 15.
Surprised that was on your top 20. Pleasantly surprised.
It's a fantastic game.
It is. Yeah, it is a great game. My number 14 is a game called Jambo. This is an old, I'll call it a card game, because that's mainly what it is. But yeah, Jambo is a Swahili term that vendors would use or traders would use to greet their customers. So just a little bit of trivia there. But anyway, this is a game where you use cards and you're basically competing basically to have the most amount of money by selling goods. And it's like tea and fruits and stuff like that. There's, I think, like 6 different types of currencies, what I'll call them. And it's basically like a market, not a market game. there's a market in the center, and you're basically just trading goods and trying to get the most money possible to win the game. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's on Board Game Arena, I want to say. And it's just a fun game. It's just a fun little card game. I really do enjoy these like small form factor card games. And this one definitely scratches the itch of, so there's card games that play like card games, and then there's card games that play like board games, if that makes sense. This is
Yes,
the
it does.
latter. This is the latter, where it's like, it's like No Thanks, for example, which is a great game. I'm not knocking it.
Mm-hmm.
No Thanks is a card game, hands down.
Yeah.
This is like a card game that plays like a board game, and it has that feel to it, and
Yeah.
it scratches that itch. So yeah, I love this game, and it is my number 14. And I also like, there's a follow-up game to it as well called Asante that's pretty awesome too. So that is my number 14.
All right. At number 14 for me is a game published by Mighty Boards and designed by Dr. Reiner Knizia. It's a new game that I just got, and it's already in my top 20. And this is Rebirth. As I mentioned it, I just played it again in the last 2 weeks. And what I really love about this game is it's like it's a you're pulling from a bag and you're placing a single tile. Whatever you pull, you have to figure out where to put it on the board to try to maximize points. And you as you place down near a cathedral, you take a card, and then it's a private goal that you're trying to achieve, and it can actually change maybe what your original plan was. So it's like, well, I can get these points if I go over here and I claim this area, or I can, own majority around this particular castle, or things like that. You're also trying to take over castles and keep control of the castles, because those are worth very valuable during scoring at the end of the game. So you're playing out food farms, energy farms, and communities, civilizations, and in the communities you're trying to have a lot of influence to gain more points in the communities. So you do these different things, and you're still trying to make your goal cards. And it's like almost every move that you make, you're scoring. So you're constantly making scoring in this game, unless you're playing out a housing, like a community. Then not unless it's a single community, you don't score until, if it's a 2 or 3 community, then not till all of those are filled, each of those tiles are filled, then you would score. But so there's always, it's a constant scoring almost. It's a real quick game. You can play this 4 players in easily under 60 minutes. So, and there is there's still a lot of strategy to this game. And even though that it's like very simplified. And then what I think is really cool is the other side of the board. So the main side that you start out with is Scotland, and then you flip it over, and it's a map of Ireland. And then there's these separate set of cards and new tokens that go into the game that give different abilities. And instead of having private goals, there's like public goals out. So now you can kind of see what others are probably going to be going for. And then there's these extra abilities when you land on these certain tokens. They give you different abilities that you can do in the game. So I haven't played that side yet. And next time I play this, I'm playing that side. And I'm really excited to dive into the Ireland side of Rebirth. But this is an absolutely fantastic game.
It
Again, this
is.
is number 14 is Rebirth.
Okay, my number 13 is Glenmore. This is a game by Matthias Kramer. Came out in 2010. Oh man, that's an oldie, but it's an oldie but a goodie. This game it's got some cool stuff to it. Well, first of all, the theme is 17th century Scottish clans. Trying to expand their territory. There's like whiskey barrels and sheep and stuff. Anyway, If that didn't like interest you right there, I don't know what will. But there's a couple cool things for this. So first of all is there's like a rondel in the middle of the table, which is basically a couple of things. It's where you get your tiles, because it is a tile laying game to some degree. But in the middle is where you get your tiles, and there's a bunch of tiles that are placed around this square in the middle, and you have your pawns or your dudes on there, and what you do is you go in clockwise motion, like around that, and the person who's in back can keep taking turns until they're no longer last. So whoever is the last player is the first player, if that makes sense. Um, so for example, if I'm in the lead and then you're back like 5 squares, you can keep moving. Like you can move one turn at a time. There's reasons not to do that. But you can move like, let's say 2 spaces, you're still behind me, then you collect that tile and then you move again. As long as you're behind me, you can keep going up until you skip over me. Then it's my turn. So it's an interesting mechanism, because if you really want a particular tile, you can jump forward and claim it, but now you're giving your opponents like extra turns. So you're handicapping yourself by being greedy. And then the other thing that's pretty cool about it is that you get these tiles and then you lay them down in front of you in your play area. So it's kind of got that Carcassonne style feel to it as well. And you put your dudes all over the map to collect resources and stuff. And it's just a fun game. This is one of the games on this Board Game Life Con #1 that was on the list, but I just did not make the cut. It was when I brought a whole bunch of games down, I think on Sunday, maybe it was Saturday. This was one of them. We just never got around to playing it. But it's a great game. They came out with a sequel, Glenmore 2, a couple years ago. And, that's kind of like a next level version of this game. But I do enjoy the original, and I'm always down to play it. That is my number 13 game, Glenmore.
All right. All righty. At number 13, I've got to Plunder the Pirates
Really?
Life.
As soon as I heard R, that's what I thought.
You
Either
knew,
that or
yeah.
Jamaica, maybe. I don't know.
This is from publisher Lost Boy Entertainment, designer Casey Shrimple. This is a game about
It's a good game.
just
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game. A pirate. This is to me the best pirate game I've ever seen. It is. It doesn't get bogged down in stuff. It is a medium weight. That's a 1.88, so maybe that's still on the light side, but it is fun. You are commanding ships. You get a fleet of ships with people in them, and you can improve them by adding cannons and sails. This adding sails lets you do additional moves after your dice rolls. The extra cannons give you extra values on your dice rolls for attacks, and there's a moving storm that will impact your ability and your ships, and everybody's got an island that you start with, and you can try to take over someone else's island and take more islands, and you're all trying to get, I think it's prestige or plunder points. I think that's what they are, plunder points. And they're basically these cards that you're gaining by defeating somebody else and taking over someone's island, and you get to 10, then you win. But it is such a fun game. They have buried treasure that keeps moving around, and you go to find the buried treasure, and then you get these cards that sometimes they're bad. I think majority of the time they're good, but there are some that are bad, and it's so you never know. Do you want to go for the risk of looking for the buried treasure? And it's such a fun game. I really, really enjoy this. You can play up to 6 players. It's 2 to 6 players. And yeah, this is Plunder a Pirate's Life as my number 13.
Okay, my number 12 is Stone Age. And this is a classic game. It's been around for some time now, since 2008. And we played this on BGA once. I got to get you to play the real game. It's yeah, it's fun. This is a classic. It won so many awards, and we played that early on. Now you're playing Civolution. Come on, dude. This is like kid stuff. It's a 20-plus-year-old game. No, it's almost 20 years old. So it's easy peasy. But anyway, this is a game where you have a bunch of dudes on your board that they're hunters, farmers, they're making babies, they're making tools, all this stuff, and you're just basically using all these prehistoric people to collect resources like stone, gold, wood, and trying to fulfill what I'll call contracts, but they're really not contracts. And it's just a fun game. It's just you're basically using your dudes to collect things and then fulfilling orders. And there's a couple sequels. I think 2 sequels to this. There's at least one with added some jewelry and stuff like that. But it's a classic game. I love the look because it's got the art of Michael Menzel on it, which is definitely it fits my Euro Jam wheelhouse, if I want to put it that way. But a great game, and it's done by Bernd Brunhofer, which we will hear from him again because there's another game later on in my list from him. But yeah, Stone Age is my number 12.
My number 12 is published by Alderac Entertainment Group.
Ooh, like them.
Designed by John D. Clare.
Okay. Oh, I know this one. Okay.
Okay, what is it?
The Space Base?
You are correct.
Yes.
Space Base. Yes, this is a fantastic card game, board/card game. That what I love about this game is once you get past like the initial first or two, first couple rounds, then you're basically starting to build. You're buying a card, you're replacing it, you're tucking a card on the top of your board, and now that card that's on top of your board, anytime that anyone else rolls that particular number, now you're getting to gain something on someone else's turn. And the more that you purchase and tuck, the more that you have. So it allows for after a couple of rounds, basically everyone's playing on. You're always doing something on everybody's roll. It doesn't matter. So I really like that. It keeps you involved in the game, and you're always trying to buy more and more cards, but ultimately you just get those rocket ships to score wins. But it's just a fantastic game. That is a Space Base at my number 12.
Okay, my number 11 is Turn and Taxis. This is a game that you and I played on Con number 1, where it is a game about the German postal system.
I remember that.
Yeah, I definitely sparked a lot of people's interest right there, of course. But it's just
don't
judge.
Don't judge. Yes, don't judge, because it's a great game.
Yeah, it is a let's see, what's the best way to describe this? It is a game where you're connecting cities using a hand of cards, which is an interesting way to do it. Not really like Ticket to Ride, but you're playing hands trying to connect cities, and then you do have dudes on the map that let you do special things, right? Like, but there's like the postmaster, there's I forgot what all of them were. I know postmaster's one of them.
Yeah.
And they basically let you take special actions on your turn, but yeah, you gain points based on how you connect your routes, how long they are. If you go into like each of the different regions, there's like so many different ways to do this. And it's just a fun game. It's a fun game that is also on Yukata. I used to play it a lot on there. And it plays okay on Yukata, surprisingly. Unlike some of the games that we've played on BGA, which are like a slog.
Yeah.
It's like you take one turn and then wait and then you forget what you were doing. But anyway, Turn in Taxis is a great game. Really enjoy it. That is my number 9.
All right. No, that would be your number 10, right? Or number
No,
11.
no, yeah, that's my number 11, right?
Yeah. Because my number
The I
11.
and the X are reversed. Yes.
My number 11 is from Stonemaier Games and designed by Connie Vogelman. We just talked about this game a few minutes ago and how it was a massive success in its first year. And this is Wormspan. I was introduced to Wingspan, and I really, really liked Wingspan a lot. And basically, bought everything. And of course, now I've sold everything other than the base game of Wingspan. But with Wormspan, I doubt I'll ever play Wingspan again because
Oh wow.
Wormspan got rid of the
Dragons are
birdhouse.
cooler.
But it's not the dragons, it's not the birds, it's the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
I really despised getting resources in Wingspan because they gotta be in that stupid bird feeder. And I can't tell you how many times I've needed something and it's not there. But there's like enough stuff there that you can't do a reroll. So you end up trying to do something else, waiting for the ability to get resources. And in Wormspan, you can take the action to go get resources and you take what you want. And I just think that removes a big frustration of the game for me. And it adds in some additional playing mechanics that I just think are a lot of fun and makes for some really good engine building. But yeah, it's definitely a favorite in our group, and it's it was a much improved over the original, in my opinion, and actually it's a heavier weight game too. So if you like a heavier weight game, this is probably the heaviest of the three. But I just love Wormspan. This is just a fantastic game. So that is my number 11.
Okay, my number 10 is
Top 10.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, my number 10 is Port Royal. And this is a game that came out about 10 years ago and had a bunch of expansions. Eventually came in a big box format, which is the cooler one. Actually, it's right there behind me. This is just a fun press your luck card game. And I always have a lot of fun playing it. Although I don't know why when I don't play this one for a while, like relearning it is a little tougher than I would anticipate. Maybe I just don't play it enough. I need to play it more often. But it's one of the earlier games from Alexander Pfister, who's got quite a bit of great games under his belt now, and I really enjoy this game. Highly recommend it. Port Royal.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do enjoy that game. My number 10 is Got a CMON game here, and this is Zombicide, the second edition. I thoroughly love the Zombicide game. This is, I remember the first time I played it, it was just like, there was like overwhelming amount of zombies, and there's so much going on, and it's not an easy game, as in you really gotta play cooperatively, you gotta stick together, you gotta work together, you gotta be open to hear other ideas. This is not a lone wolf game, and if you want to be successful, you've got to work together. And every time I've played and someone's gone off on their own and they're just like, I'm going to do what I want because I'm the alpha gamer, then it's like everything falls apart, you know? And when you can work together and be willing to sacrifice yourself for the betterment of the team, you can have just an amazing time. And I've had some amazing experiences and just some fantastic games in Zombicide. So this is my number 10, Zombicide Second Edition.
My number 9 is a game by Freedom and Freeze called Familia, or Famiglia, if you want to say it how it's spelled. But it's a game where it's a 2-player game where you're playing against your opponent and basically just trying to collect sets of gangsters and upgrade them from 0 value gangsters up to, oh man, I don't remember how high the number goes. Like just a couple. Actually, let me see here. Yeah, like 4. Oh, they go all the way up to 10. But yeah, you're just trying to upgrade your gangsters and, score the most amount of points. This is just a fun game. It's the artwork on it is a little funky. It's definitely got a unique style. It's one way to put it. But it's just a fun game. Like Freedom on Freeze just makes these little interesting card games that are just a blast to play. So that is my number 9, Familia.
All right, my number 9 is a relatively very new game. Came out the end of last year, and that is SETI Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Oh wow!
This game is really fun, and so when I saw this and did the playthrough, I got like a 2-hour playthrough with CGE at Gen Con. I remember walking out of there and telling you, I'm not getting this game. It's too much. It's too heavy. It hurt my brain.
Yeah.
But it was something that, I was very interested in. And the game is it as I kept continuing to think about it after I was, had been able to be slightly taught, not really taught. They don't really teach it. It's all set up to allow you to
It's
kind
like
of
you're
play.
going through turns.
Yes. And
like scripted turns sometimes.
And as I started to expand into harder games, I was like, I decided to, you know what, I'm gonna order this anyways. I'm going to go ahead and I am so glad I did. I have played this several times now. Everybody that has played it absolutely loves it. I love it. There is so much to it, and I love the theme. The board is really cool. There is a bit of setup on this and a bit of takedown. So that's I think probably the hardest, but the game really flows very well once you understand what you're doing and what you can do on your turn. It's one of those that you can kind of just focus in certain areas and kind of lean into that, and and maybe other things that you didn't do, but there's a lot of options in this game. You've got cards, you've got certain actions you can take, you got all these different upgrade tracks that you can try to upgrade, and it's just a fantastic as you're moving your satellites throughout the universe or through the solar system rather, and then you're trying to basically see if there's life out there. And there is always 2 different life forms that you can discover, but you don't know what they are until you flip them over. And in the game comes with like 5 different alien races, and you basically random, shuffle them up and place them two face down. So you never know what alien race you're going to discover in the game. And it's just, there's so much to it. It's just a fantastic, well done game. This was designed by Thomas Holek, and also, like I said, published by Czech Games Edition. Just absolutely a super instant classic hit for me, and that is SETI at my number 9.
That's pretty cool that it went from, kind of overwhelmed at Gen Con to being on your biggest
Top
list
10.
of all time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And pretty low comparatively.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's awesome.
Number 9, I think it, and I honestly, this could move up.
Really?
I don't think it's going to be one that will drop off the top 10 at any point. I was thinking earlier, again, there's another game that I really like that I realized is not on this list of top 20 that probably really should be. And probably the next time we have to do a top 20 or something, it probably will move something off this list. But SETI's going to be here for a long time.
And SETI's a 3.76.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, very cool. So it's designed by Thomas Holek. So he's got Galileo coming out as well as Teegarden. Well, I mean, they're already out, but here in the United States they're coming out soon. So are you gonna check those out?
I don't know. This theme really hits for me, and I think there's something else. Oh, I thought I was hearing about something else. Oh, this Below Asylum is one I saw. That's not coming out till 2026. But I think this is a
action
Awakened
horror.
Realms game that he's doing.
Oh, it is.
It's like a horror game.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh,
so
it's gonna be expensive.
It's gonna be expensive, but
yeah. I mean, they all are.
Be interesting.
It's even more so.
Yeah, I've heard amazing things about Galileo Galilei.
Yeah.
I've heard that is just a fantastic game. So, but
I'm looking forward.
We'll see.
And even Teegarden, I'm interested in checking that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So my number 8 is a classic. At least I think it is. It's Dominion by Donald X. Vaccarino. This is the game that basically ignited the whole deck building phenomenon. And it was, I don't know if I ever mentioned, this was one of the games that got me what I'll call back into board gaming. Like around, I don't know, 2008, 9, 10, something like that, where I actually was looking for a game to buy, and I was at the mall, and there was a store. I don't remember what it was called, but there's a store that had, knickknacks and calendars, and they had a whole bunch of board games in the back. And the guy was, I was talking to the guy over there, and he recommended this new game that just came out, Dominion. He's like, that's pretty popular. And then also check out Catan. So I bought Catan and I bought Dominion, and they sat at home for about a year. I didn't have any time to even play them or anything. And then we were just gonna play something, and so we had a copy of Clue. We played that, and I'm like, well, let me pull out this game that I bought a while back, Dominion, and see how that is. And man, that thing freaking started it all. We played that, and it's like, ooh, what more is there like this? And then that's when I discovered BGG. and the rest is all history. But yeah, Dominion is what sucked me back into the hobby after not really playing board games for a long time. But anyway, so that was a little history lesson, which nobody wants to hear because they want to hear what our top 20 games are. But yeah, Dominion, I don't know if I really need to say much about it. It's just fantastic. And I was specifically talking about the original box set, not one of the like 20 different expansions that it has. And I believe the last year, the year before, they came out with like a second edition, which is kind of cool, I guess. But Dominion is just awesome. Love the game, and that is my number 8.
All right. My number 8 is by a designer that you may have heard of before. His name is Stefan Feld.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I heard of him.
And this is published by Alea and Awakened Realms. And this is Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. And I remember the first time you taught this game to me was at Gen Con, and it was an old, ugly.
It's like, the original.
The colors were horrid. I couldn't tell the difference between yellow and beige.
It's actually Die Burgund von Bergen. It's the German edition.
And I remember being real tired and halfway through walking away and telling Brun, like, yeah, go ahead, take over my turns.
Yeah.
I was just so tired at that point, but the game really I just didn't take. And then you're like, no, we're going to do it again. And we did it on BGA. And I was like, okay, this like made more sense the second time I played and kind of enjoyed it. And then I decided to buy this ridiculous special edition that came out and and have really just fallen in love with this game. It's just a beautiful, fantastic game. Again, everyone loves this. It's a 9.2 on BGG.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's rated very high for very good reasons. But that is my number 8, Castles of Burgundy.
All right, my number 7 is Manhattan Project from Brandon Tibbetts and Minion Games. Came out like about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. This is just a fun game. It might be kind of cool if they redid it in a newer theme, or maybe updated a little bit. But it has its own look, its own charm, and it's got a very interesting topic, I guess. You're building bombs to nuke your opponents. Sort of. Yeah. And it's just a fun game. I just enjoy it. It's got a very cool, you have this player board in front of you where you put down these buildings that you build. And one thing that I really enjoy about this game is just that you can chain a lot of things. This is a game that we played at Gen Con last year.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cool to like, oh, I can generate this and then use those to generate this and generate that. And one thing that's also kind of interesting about it is the game starts off slow. And then once it gets to a certain point, it's over in 2 turns. I don't know if you remember that particular aspect of it, but it's sort of like your engine gets built up so much that it's like, boom, boom, boom. You're can dead. End the game. And everybody reaches the same thing at the same point. And it's just like a big scramble where like, if I end the game to win, you're usually like, oh man, if I just had one more turn, I would have just annihilated you. And it's just a fun game. And this is the game that started like a whole series of games, right? With Energy Empire and War Machine. So it is the OG Manhattan Project game. cards because card game. Very, very cool. That is my number 7, The Manhattan Project.
All right, my number 7 is something I talked about a little bit ago, Thunder Road Vendetta, and I'm going to throw in the Carnival of Chaos in here as well, with the expansion. It's you don't need the expansion to be at this number. I mean, I had this at my number 7 before that, but oh boy, does it solidify its spot in the top 10 with the Carnival of Chaos. If this is, it is it's I don't want to say Car Wars because that's it's an actual game. That's an actual game by Steve Jackson Games, but it is like Rob says, Mad Max. It is. Think of those days back when we were playing with Hot Wheels in the dirt, and we're pretending that they had rocket launchers on them and Gatling guns, and that's what this game is. You got different sized vehicles. You get small, medium, and a large vehicle. You got a helicopter. You can call in an airstrike. You can repair cars. You can blow cars up. You can smash into them, and it's great. Like when you slam into another car, then you roll these dice to see what happens, and it's like one of the top or the bottom car will go flying in a different direction, and it could land on another car and cause another slam, and just chain reactions, and cars can get slammed into mountains, which eliminates them, and your cars can get caught on fire. They can blow up when they run over mines. They can go into the mud and slow them down. They can there's just so many things, oil slicks, which will cause them to spin out of control and go in a random direction. It's just, and then when you put the Carnival of Chaos arena in there, it's all focused on battles, and you get super weapons and all these other things that just ramp up the excitement and the intensity of the game. This is a fantastic, fun for all, number 7, Thunder Road Vendetta.
Okay, my number 6 is Ascension Chronicles of the Godslayer. Now it's known as Ascension Deck Building Game. So they did have a little bit of a name change over the years. This is what I would say is like the first big contender to Dominion, back in the day, where they were one of the first ones to copy Dominion and do it really well and to make it unique enough where it was its own game and interesting. And the system that they developed for this, I think, was kind of like used in a lot of other games like DC Deck Building Game and to some degree like Legendary and a whole slew of other games. But this game was a game that I played so much, where we would basically, like on the weekends, play like a couple of games a day, and to probably to the extreme of where I was like, "Come on, can we play something else?" That's how much, because back then I had to play the new hotness too, not just like the old stuff that was like really good. And then one other thing about this game is that it actually had a board. So there was a fairly good sized board, which I don't know if you really needed it, but there was, there's like a market in the middle. So it had spots where you could put those cards. And, it is what it is. You could easily play it without the board. Most of the time, I think we played it without the board just because, we didn't need it. And it was good enough to play without it. But I really enjoyed this game. And this game was also one of the first games that had a really good online implementation. You could play it on your phone, and that also kind of, I don't want to say killed the fun of the game, but it was one of those where if you played the real game, it took a while because you're dealing with cards, you're dealing with shuffling. When you're playing on your phone, like you're doing right now, then it just, and you're not even listening to me, are you?
I am.
You're just choosing to ignore me. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
Rude.
No, it's when you play it on a mobile device or tablet or whatever, it just goes too quick, and it's not. It, there's something that's just missed. Where the game, when you're sitting in front of people, is to me a lot of fun, but it turns very mechanical and it's very fast, and you can play a game in a couple of minutes on a phone. If you're looking to
Hmm.
just crank out games, I mean that's probably perfectly fine. But I always vastly preferred playing this game in person. The artwork is something that a lot of folks were very divided on because it had this very unique art style. But again, this game is a lot of fun. The one thing I will say is that, as just like Dominion, where I had to have all the expansions, this is one where I had to have all the expansions, and as soon as they would come out, um, I would get them, and then their whole thing was you can mix the expansions into the base game and just play them all. Well, yeah, you could, but that really screwed up the synergy of the game, I think. Um, at most, maybe mix in one of the expansions, but having them all mixed in just didn't work out too well, and we eventually kind of figured that out and went kind of back to the base game where we would play certain ones. But yeah, this is a game that like I really adored, and like it just makes me want to play it right now. I don't necessarily want to pick up my phone and play it online,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's just a fun game. Definitely enjoy it. So that's my number 6, Ascension.
All right. My number 6. No one can hear you scream in space. That gets you any idea. This is from publisher Awakened Realms, designer Adam Kopinski. This is Nemesis. I I really love this game, and it's so it can be so tense and stressful. You're trying to survive this alien infested spaceship. You're trying to make sure that the ship's going to Earth and that the engines are working and that you got all these things that need to be done, and everyone's got their own tasks and agendas, but maybe not everyone cares if you live or not. So it's just it's a cooperative until it's not game that it basically ends up everyone for themselves, right? And it's just so thematically themed, just drips in theme. This is, and I've said it before, this is Alien the board game. This is truly the greatest Alien game out there. So it earns my top spot, or one of my top spots here at excuse me, number 6, Nemesis.
My number 5 comes to us from Fantasy Flight Games, and it is Elder Sign. This is what I originally saw as being kind of like the light version of Arkham Asylum, and which is another one of Fantasy Flight's huge games, lots of expansions. But this took that whole Cthulhu world and it made it digestible in a small form game where you could teach it to people because it uses a Yahtzee style mechanic. You roll your dice and you're trying to use your characters to defeat different monsters that are coming through the portal and trying to overwhelm the town. It's done by Richard Launius and Kevin Wilson, who've got a whole bunch of great games under their belt, and they did just such a fantastic, um, like a fantastic implementation of a game to kind of mirror the intensity and the chaos and the struggle to win that you get with Arkham Asylum. Wait, Arkham Asylum. Is that the one? Or
Arkham
am I
Horror.
Arkham Horror? I'm thinking Batman.
I
Never
was
mind.
gonna be like, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wait a second. That didn't sound right. Yeah, Arkham Horror. I apologize for my
Your
misspeaking there.
faux pas.
Yeah, my folks pox. But yeah, and the cool thing about this game again is that it's a dice game, so it's easily accessible. And we used to play this with my son when he was little. You know, he didn't quite know everything that was going on, but he could roll the dice. And then he would figure out, oh, did I do good? Did I do not so good? But the interesting thing about this game, it is one of those games where it it has that feel like you were talking about with Nemesis, where the odds are against you,
Yeah.
and you are like just hoping to, you know, squeak out a win, and then once in a while you do. And you know, it's like, you know, you roll the dice like, oh wait, you know, I can use this re-roll, and I can, you know, use this heal, and I can do this, and you're like trying to just come up with these creative ways to survive. And you do lose games, just like in Nemesis. I would actually say it's interesting to me that we both have these games, you know, pretty close to each other. Because what you had a Nemesis at number 6, and I had
Yep.
Elder Sign at 5. Yeah, they are very similar, and I would just say that Elder Sign has a very similar feel to Nemesis. It's just easier, and I don't mean easier to win. I mean just not as big of a table presence, and
Yeah.
not as big of a production. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just a smaller
Right.
game. Really, really well done. Love this one a lot. Love the tenseness of the game, and then, you know, the elation that you get when you pull off something like, oh my god, I didn't think we would make it, and then you know, you scrape by the skin of your teeth, only to be crushed like 2 turns later. But that's how it goes when you're being attacked by monsters uh from the nether regions or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's Elder Sign, my number 5.
All right. My number 5 is a deck builder, and it's from Direwolf, designer Paul Denon. When this is Clank Catacombs, and I really love Clank. I could probably just stick Clank in here because I think all the Clank games have just been fantastic. But if I had to pick one of them, I would pick Catacombs, and it's because of the tile laying. So your board is always different every time you're going to play, and it's you can't have like in the previous ones where you have an actual, you know, a board, you know, typical board. You know, the artifacts are always in the same spot, and you know people can race to those. In Catacombs, you never know where they're going to appear, so it there's no basically race to get them. You are exploring the catacomb, and it's always different every time you play this version of Clank. The game is always different, things are always in different places, and I really love that. It always feels like a fresh game every time you play. And I think Clank was originally probably the first deck builder I've ever played, and just really fell in love with it. And I love this series, and Catacombs just took it over the top. And like, just I think this is the absolute best version. I really don't know where they can go from here. I think it will be real tough to achieve greater than Clank Catacombs, but this is a fantastic deck builder, and that's why it's my number 5.
My number 4 is a game that we talked about previously, Downfall of Pompeii.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely enjoy this game. It's got a lot of mileage, including mileage from my heel when I smashed and I stepped on the box on accident. That's a whole different story. Yeah, my number 4, Downfall of Pompeii.
All right, my number 4 is the one that how did I miss this one on my list? And I had to scramble, and someone got booted to put this guy in here, and I'm still questioning, should it be as low as 4? But I think this is a fair spot to put it. This game is from one of my favorite publishers, which is Roxley. It's and this is Skyrise. I absolutely love this game. I'm not typically a fan of auction games,
Yeah.
but this game does it so different. And I love the first of all, the production of the premium collector's edition or whatever it is. That production is insane. You know, not only you have 4 players, they all have different colors, but your buildings, everybody's buildings are different. They're designed different. They're gorgeous. It's not, so if you're thinking like, why is this up here? I mean, the gameplay is amazing, but the production of this game is just over the top. It's gorgeous. Every time I've played this at my game night, people stop and stare like, what is that? It just is an attention grabber. And then playing the game there's so much. I love that you've got to really think about multiple aspects of how you've got to strategize. So, you're placing your bids out, your buildings with different numbers, and every player's got different numbered buildings. Nobody has anything the same. So you're like, okay, if I play this, okay, they're out of the game because they don't have a building higher number than, but the other 2 players do. Do I want to take this colored neighborhood, or maybe do I want the disc that's in the neighborhood? And then when I take those discs, how does it affect? Because on my player board, when I'm gathering, am I collecting too much, or my points are going to go down? There's just so many different aspects and ways to score points in this game that you're always thinking. You always got to be thinking and trying to figure out what's best and when it's best to play your buildings. I absolutely love Skyrise. It was one that I sat on for a long time, and I was very interested in it, and it looked beautiful, but I was like, it's expensive. I don't know if I'm going to like it. It's an auction game. I finally bit the bullet at Gen Con, and I think this was this last year. And absolutely was like, best investment. So Skyrise solidly in my number 4 spot. May continue to rise. It's that good.
Okay. My number 3 is a classic game from Bernd Brunhofer, which I mentioned a little bit ago, and it's St. Petersburg. This is a game that was also on that same pile as Glen Moore on con number 1, but this is just a fantastic card game. That's the best way to put it. And it's set in the 1700s and St. Petersburg. Why not? Trading in the Mediterranean, in
Judge.
yeah, 1700s St. Petersburg with the Tsar Peter. And anyway, basically what you're doing is it's a card game, and it does have a board, and you're basically getting workers of different kinds using this unique market system where cards in the market that aren't bought drop down. We've seen this in a couple things recently. I can't think of any of the games right now, but the cards that are left over, the pricing changes, they're made more attractive to get, that kind of thing. But it's just a fantastic game. I don't know if I can easily describe it in just a couple seconds, but it's an amazing game. I'm really surprised that there hasn't been any kind of reprint or re-implementation. Actually, no, wait. Re-implemented by St. Petersburg. Oh, second edition. When did this come out? In 2014. by Z-Man Games. But yeah, that one does look nice too. They kept a lot of the style of the original one. But it's just a fantastic uh, game where so you play important roles in the building of St. Petersburg, and you take available workers, buildings, and nobles basically to build up your engine and collect money and points and stuff like that. Fantastic game. Love it, love it, love it. That's my number 3, St. Petersburg.
All right. My number 3 is published by Schmidt Spiel, designed by Wolfgang Warsch, and this is the Quaxaquedlinburg.
Oh, great game.
Yeah, this is a great game, and this is one of those that it's even better with the upgraded components, man. You get those acrylic chips and in the bag and get rid of that cardboard. It just adds the whole, there's just something about it. It just, I love, shaking the bag and hearing that noise and,
clink, clink.
Just clinking them together and just, but
so
this game is so much fun.
When we played it at con number 1, was it like slumming it? Playing with the original pieces?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
But, I was willing to make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a fantastic game. And then even the expansions are fun because they just add more stuff to the game, and it's more ways to score points. And I love that. Again, this is another game that is not, everyone's playing at the same time. And so you're all putting out your ingredients into your pot and trying not to explode your pot. And then when everybody's done, you're seeing, okay, who got the farthest, and you're going down, through the steps of, scoring and gating rubies and different things, and then buying more ingredients to put in your bag to redo your pot. And I love how the recipe cards, there are so many different ones that play very different. So sometimes, your blue chips will let you reach in and take 2 chips out of your bag and pick one to keep, or 4. But then the next time you play, the blue chips do something completely different. So there's so much variety to this game as well, just by swapping out little recipe cards. They're 2-sided and there's a bunch of them. So I really love that everyone's playing at the same time, that there's so much variety in this game, and that it's a lot of fun, trying to do I pull one more chip? And then you're counting your chips. Okay, I know how many white ones I have. I know how many cherry bombs, and I know which ones I've pulled, and I can't pull a 2, and I know I've got a 3 in my bag still. And if I pull that and I got 4 chips left, and you're trying to, what are the odds? And you're sitting there in your head trying to think, I pull it. Oh, I blew up. It's just, you get that excitement in this game that just is always there every time you play. So that's why Quaxaquedlinburg is my number 3.
My number 2, I was not that I struggled with this one, but it was one that I was kind of wondering, should this go at number 2, or should it be later on in the list? And I wound up leaving it at number 2, and that's Azul. So, I mean, I think everybody probably knows this one. It's pretty popular. Came out, I don't know, within the last 10 years. And it's just a classic game that for me is just a guaranteed hit with everybody. And, it's not a game that I necessarily want to play every single day, but I enjoy every time that I play it. And it's also a great game to use to introduce people to the hobby as well. And, because of that, I thought, yeah, I'll put it in the number 2 spot, because it's gotten a lot more play than a lot of other games that I have in my collection. Actually, other than probably Ascension, in the list that I've gone through today, Ascension and Dominion are probably the only games that I've played more. And it's just because of, various factors with that. But I mean, if we played on the amount of times that I've played it, I've probably played Azul even more than Castles of Burgundy. And that one I really like a lot and love playing. So it's probably easily my number 3 most played on this whole list. But yeah, that's Azul. I don't really have much to say about it because I think everybody kind of knows it and has played the heck out of it recently. And when I say Azul, I'm talking about the base, not
Yeah.
the Crystal Palace and
Summer Pavilion
Summer
and
Pavilion. There's wasn't there like
the
Queen?
Chocolatier.
Yeah, yeah. So OG,
Yeah.
Azul OG. That's my number 2.
All right. My number 2 probably doesn't come as a big surprise. It's Dice Throne. It's all things Dice Throne. If you don't know what Dice Throne is,
You
it's
don't listen to our
Battle
show.
Yahtzee. Yeah, you don't listen to our show then. This is Battle
We
Yahtzee,
talk about it
essentially.
every episode, pretty much,
Pretty
some
much.
degree. Not in a bad way either. It's just that just shows how great it is.
If you don't like it, you're gonna mess with Wolverine.
Yes,
So
yes. Yeah.
it's actually sitting right here next to me. The Marvel Dice Throne missions that I've been playing through. So if you're wondering what that's all about, just watch one of my videos. You can see me play through the missions. But Dice Throne is so much fun. They've got so many different characters, and what I like about this game is you can mix and match. You can have a Dice Throne character from season 1 or 2, which is their characters, and you can verse them against Wolverine. Like, it doesn't matter. You can take Pyromaniac and fight Storm from the X-Men or Deadpool, or you can mix and match and duke it out however you want. It's balanced very well. This game is incredible. It does have cards, it has dice, it has a board that you can upgrade your abilities. It's just a lot of fun. Someone can attack you, and then you can maybe play cards to make them re-roll some of their attack dice, and just there's all kinds of options in this game, and it's a lot of fun to play. And I absolutely love Dice Throne, and that's why it's my number 2.
Okay. My number 1 is no surprise, Castles of Burgundy, any edition, special edition, OG. I've never played the anniversary one, but yeah, I just love my Castles of Burgundy. Love that game. I'll be down to play it anytime. We played the card game, which I enjoyed, and I was showing Mark earlier. I finally found my copy of the dice game. So Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. And yeah, so actually, so I have special edition. I have Die Burgund von Burgund. I have the dice game, the card game, and I also have Castles of Tuscany, which came out a couple of years ago. That's like the Italian version, I guess, of Castles of Burgundy. Not quite the same thing, but close enough-ish. And yeah, I just love it. Castles of Burgundy, my number 1.
Woohoo! Great pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this again will probably not be a surprise if you've listened to our show, but my number 1 game
Checkers.
is published by Adam's Apple
Bingo.
Games, designed by Ryan Lambert and Adam Ryberg. This is Planet Unknown. This is another one. It's like I loved like the look of it, the artwork intrigued me. It's another kind of a space themed game, which I guess I must like because I got several space related games in my list. But this one, I wasn't sure. It looked like it was going to be really heavy, and it's not. It's a medium weight game, and it's just a fantastic game. It's a polynomial tile placement on a planet board, and you're trying to get resources and complete different tiles, trying to fill up your planet as best you can, and getting the meteors off there, and using life pods, and you're upgrading your civilization, your water, your bio, your tech tracks, your rover tracks. there's all these different things constantly moving. And again, this is another game where everyone's playing at the same time. You can't really hurt a player next to you. It's more so in a 2-player game. You really could impact. There it is. Yep. You can impact the person next to you. But you would be doing it potentially at your own risk. But you can also, I've done it too, like in a 2-player game where I'm making sure I can see that they're going to end up going out because they need a bunch of small pieces. So I will end up like, okay, I'm going to pick something specific to make sure the other person gets a small piece that they can place because I'm not done yet. I'm not ready to go out. But the game is this is so good. And it has a very unique, neat Lazy Susan that all the tiles fit into. And the recent Supermoon expansion has now, you can get that expansion, which includes a lid for the Lazy Susan. So all your pieces will stay in the Lazy Susan when it's stored, which was a much needed piece for the game. So, and there Rob is holding the Supermoon expansion box.
See what I did for you on your number 1? You should have held up Castles of Burgundy Special Edition.
You know how big and heavy that thing is?
I know. That's what I was going to tease you with. I'm like,
it's way up there. You didn't even get out of your chair. I had to get up, go grab it, lift it off, and clunk it on the table.
Oh, like
you'd be
20
mad
pounds of it.
It would make noise on the table.
Yeah.
And anyways, my number 1, Planet Unknown.
Awesome game.
So
you liked it so much you bought it twice.
No. Planet Unknown. Yes. Yes. And once I got my deluxe copy in just recently, I gave my original retail copy away to someone in my gaming group, and he messaged me the other day and he was like, thanks so much. Him and his wife had just played it and they love it, and he really enjoyed the game. So it is still living a happy life and is getting played. So
very nice.
I paved it forward.
Awesome.
So, but that's it. I think that's I hope to hear from Sherlock SS2IO. Hope to see a comment and let us know what you think. Do we share? Do any of our picks are in maybe your top 20? Feel free to share your top games with us. I'd love to see what you like. But again, anyone, feel free to comment on our YouTube.
And you don't have to share your top 20. I mean, even do top 5, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, if you want to share some of your favorites, feel free to do so.
Coming up with 20 is tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And one of the games I mentioned that Apiary, like it's a new one. It's tough. It's like,
and there's no apes.
I love Apiary. There is no ape. I'm love that game so much.
Sorry.
It's got to get in there. It's like, how did I miss that one too? It's like, that one should be here, and something else should probably be pulled off the list. But
when did that come out? Can that go on your top of 2025? Or is it a 2024 release?
That's not a 25 game. Yeah, it came out probably 23 or 24.
Oh, that
came out in 23.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But that's one that needs to be on my top 20 list, and it. So I'm throwing that as an honorable mention. But this was really hard to do because I was telling Rob before, there's so many games, and trying to pick your top 20 favorite is tough, I think, because like I don't really have party games in here, but I have some party games like that I love that are so fun to play. But so it's really almost like you almost have to have separate lists depending on like the type of game.
It makes it easier. Yeah.
And then it depends on the group you're playing or how many people are you playing. So it's like, well, if I'm playing 6 players, I'm never going to get a game in of Skyrise because it's a 4-player game.
Right.
So yeah, this was tough. There was a lot of games I had to cut. That it's like, and there was things that I'm like, how did I forget this? How did this not make it? So, but it was fun doing it. So.
Oh, heck yeah. And I hope everybody enjoyed listening to it. as we went through 40 games.
All right. Well, I think we need to get out of here. It's been 2.5 hours, and
Oh, that long?
my
Wow.
son is dying. I need to go cook him dinner. It's late. He's gonna start chewing on the dogs or
I was
something.
about to say maybe he had a hot dog, either a retriever.
Well, one of them is
or-
safe because he's right here. Oh, the other one's behind me.
Okay, they're both safe.
They're both safe, yeah.
Yes.
So, all right.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed our lists. We'd love to hear yours. Feel free to comment or send us a message, email, or however you want to do it. We'd love to hear from you. So I'm Rob. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you all in 2 weeks on the next one.
Mark, thank you, and we'll see you at the table.